Welcome back, Doug Pagitt Radio on AM 950, the voice of Minnesota. It's Christmas week. It's Sunday today when we're broadcasting this program live, and Christmas Day, as sung to us by John Lennon, is coming on Saturday. So, like, we are right there. This is it. This is the final push week. This is when all the energies around Christmas have to come together.
Yeah.
Like here it is. The week is upon us. And that's what makes me want to talk about Christmas as a folk religion high holiday in the United States. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I mean by folk religion.
All right.
Some people think when I mention folk religion that somehow I'm diminishing it. They think I'm making a theological statement.
Okay.
Now, for those who are new to listening to the radio program, let me introduce myself in this way. I do two things. I am an anthropologist, sociologist at one moment.
And you're trained in that?
And I'm trained in that. I have a degree in cultural anthropology. I understand that world, and I think sometimes through my anthropological training in mind. Mm-hmm. And other times, I'm a theologian. I'm a pastor. I'm a practitioner of a particular expression of religion through Christianity.
Sure.
Right? So I am a theologian and an anthropologist. I sometimes refer to myself as an anthropological theologist.
Oh, wow.
So I think in both of these terms, and I don't find them to be particularly problematic to one another. In fact, I think they'd be very helpful to one another. I think they're both really important.
They're not contradictory to one another.
No, I think they're necessary for one another. So there's some times where it feels like a theological answer is the right one, and sometimes an anthropological answer or a cultural answer is the right one. Okay. Christmas is the time where these two worlds come crashing together for me. I've realized this in the last couple of years. This is where the theological side of someone who's a personal professor of religious faith, Christianity, a follower of God in the way of Jesus, as I like to say it, crashes together with the cultural expectation that comes around a religious holiday that fits into the cultural religion in North America. Now, there are many, and people express Christianity in different ways, and they express different religion in different ways, and there's people who are a-religious, and people who are Jewish, and people who are Muslim, lots of. But the majority of people, and the cultural sensitivity in the United States tends to be built around Christianity. Mm-hmm. So the big high holiday of the folk religion, the one that people know about even if they've never gone to any religious training.
Yeah.
Right? If you grew up in this country and you didn't go to anything ever hosted by or a conversation put together by a religious person, you would still have an experience with this cultural agreed upon day of Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? People would just get it. It's all over the place. It is just, it is unavoidable. So at one moment you have people's own personal devotion for their religion, which I'm all about. I want to advocate for that. I want to encourage people to do that. I do that myself. I do it in a church. I write books about this stuff. For crying out loud, I do that on this radio show. But then on the other side, there's this cultural expression that is owned and shared by everyone. You get your Santa Claus, you get your Rudolph, you get your John Lennons, you got all these people who, and all these voices and all these images that are also contributing to the cultural, folk religious expression that is Christmas. And this is where you get some of the conservative religious people who want to put the Christ back in Xmas.
Yeah.
Right? Because what they're really doing is they're saying, but I have a particular devotional and theological opinion about this holiday that seems to be diminished by you having a cultural and folk expression of this holiday.
Yeah.
So then they'll say things like, well, all this gift buying, we shouldn't do all this gift buying at Christmas because that's not what Christmas is about. Christmas is about proclaiming the birth of our Savior. Okay, so now here's where I'm going to give you my take on this.
Okay.
As a theological person, as an anthropological person, I think that for me, as a practitioner of my religion, every day is which I proclaim that. Every day is the day in which I tell the story of Christianity. Every day is the day that comes together. Every week in my church is the week that we're telling this big story.
Yeah.
The thing that makes Christmas Day special is not that we really get to tell the story today, because we really should be telling that story every day. The thing that makes it special is we join together with all the non-religious adherents.
Oh.
on Christmas. Huh?
Yeah.
So it's the day when the folk religion and the devotion come together. So now everybody's in on it, right? Even, there are people who don't hold to any meaning behind Christmas at all, who in the last week and will in the next 6 days say to me, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? What they're doing is they are saying, we all have a piece of this holiday.
Sure.
This has now transcended just the religious expression. It's not just the Mass that celebrates the Christ. It is now Christmas, pushed really close together, right? Christmas, not just the Christ Mass. It's the Christmas celebration that belongs to all of us.
Sure.
And I think that those of us who have deep religious devotion should recognize that and not be hogging Christmas as if we're the only ones who have input on it, or the only ones who have something to say about it, or the only ones who really know what it's all about, because it has become a part of the folk expression of holidays in our country.
Sure.
So now we share that as people of personal religious devotion. So I think to those who are religiously devoted, we should recognize that other people are in on this week as well, right? We might be in on it 52 weeks of the year, but there's some people who are like, it's a big deal for 1 week. It's kind of the way people get about the 4th of July, right? They're like, I know got my freedom, but I'm going to think about the wars fought on the 4th of July, and I'm going to be all about it for those days. And people who are veterans or others shouldn't be chiming in like, you don't understand what the 4th of July is really all about. Like, we shouldn't do that. And I think religious people shouldn't be doing the same thing with Christmas, right? They shouldn't be hogging it like that. Now, a little note to the religious professionals, if I could. A little hint, a little unsolicited advice to those folks. This is no week to be opportunistic. This is no week to act like, baby, this is the big week when everybody's paying attention to the stuff I think's important. I'm going to really grab a hold of it. And I find a lot of pastors who are putting together their Christmas Eve sermon, their Christmas Day sermon, and they really feel like this is my chance when all the other people who are going to come into church, because that's the way that they want to celebrate the acknowledgement of the folk expression of Christmas, and I'm going to pounce on them.
Meaning
that they become all evangelistic and opportunistic
to try
at the time.
to convert those people.
It seems a little unkind to barge into the civic celebration that is Christmas by only recognizing the religious expression of Christmas. I think the best way to do that, because I go around all the time, I'm an evangelist, right? Like, I want people to follow God in the way of Jesus in the world. That's what I do. I go around and I would suggest to my pastoral colleagues that the best way to invite people to take this seriously 51 weeks of the year is to acknowledge that it's appropriate to be a folk religious person as well as a devoted religious person. Now, you got something to say about that? It makes you feel uncomfortable as a former defrocted pastor, doesn't it?
As a fallen pastor, it does make me feel uncomfortable.
Well, that's why you're fallen. Yeah. Okay, so now as now a little tip to the others, a little tip to the folk religious people only.
Well, maybe this will make me feel better if you stick it to the folk people.
Okay, folk religious folks.
Yeah,
you got to understand this. To a lot of us, we can't believe that now all of a sudden you're talking about the stuff we talk about 51 weeks of the year. So when you fake it for a week, when you now act like it's important, you now rearrange your schedule. You have to know that makes our little eyebrows perk up. That makes us sit up straight in our seat, because we've been trying for 51 weeks to have people take this kind of religious stuff seriously.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're acting like you mean it.
We get all jazzed.
We get all jazzed about it.
Yeah.
So give us a minute, would you? I mean, recognize the fact that you're kind of playing over in the other playground as well. That it's okay for people to take this devotionally seriously.
Yeah.
So on this week where the religious devotees and the religious folk people are coming together around the common square, let's grant a little grace to one another. Could you? Could we grant a little easy going?
Yeah.
Could we grant a little Merry Christmas and Merry Xmas at the same time?
Yeah.
That's what I hope. Christmas greetings.
Yeah.
Religious radio that's not quite right on AM 950, the voice of Minnesota.